Okay, so I'm going to go over how to counter an offer that is asking for our brokerage to compensate the buyer's broker. As I'm sure you are aware, as a brokerage, we have decided to only do the F4B listing agreement. So if we do get that offer, we don't have the authorization to allow for it doesn't our listing agreement does not allow for us to pay that compensation directly. Our seller has to pay that. So for us to be compliant whenever we get an offer asking for our brokerage to compensate the buyer broker directly, we need to counter that. So let's scroll down to the compensation agreement on this test. This is just a test offer or just an example offer. So this is what you would see if someone presented that offer in a way like that. So they should have line 245 marked. They should have line 247 marked with the percentage of the commission that they're asking for. What we would want to see is line 252 marked with that same amount or that amount less what their buyer is paying them directly. What we will not do and what we are not able to do is have 258 or 259 checks and anything there. So if we do get an offer like this, there are two options. We can strike through here and counter it that way, or we can counter it on a seller's counter offer with verbiage. They will have a new seller's counter coming out soon, along with a lots and land listing agreement and a commercial agreement. Those are in queue to be printed. Those forms are finalized. They're in queue to be printed. Uh, we are way back in the queue apparently as a state. Every state in the U.S. is having to have forms printed, and a lot of them are going with the same printer apparently. So we are in queue to get those printed. When that happens, who knows? All right. So to strike through this in dot loop, you would go to add, strike through, place your line here, scroll over until you see the diagonal arrow, slide it across. You can do it that way. You can also go to add text, add a text box. First of all, I'm going to move this off of it. All right, so you can do like a pound sign across. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna get the hang of this, I swear. All right, so you can do this, but what you want to do is make sure both check mark and the percentage is marked out. So what we would do is slide that over. This don't want to cover that up. I mean, I guess you could, but this isn't what we're trying to strike through. So either way, what we're doing is just saying, hey, I would honestly prefer that just be a strike through to this. I think it's cleaner. I mean, either work, either works, but I would rather see the strike through. At that point, you would come back here. You would add your text box here, put 3.0 or whatever percentage you're countering. You don't have to counter back 3%. If you do want to say, let's say you counter 2.4% because that's what your F4B has agreed on. That's what most of ours, it's going to be at 2 to 2.4%. It's not going to, most of our sellers aren't doing 3%. So what we would do is counter back at what your seller has decided on. At that point, you put a checkbox there, make sure it's checked, put your percentage here. You would also strike through this. But in this situation, you are not going to strike through your check because that's still applicable. and you're not gonna strike through your percent. So you just strike through the number, add your text box here. I can't overlap. So small. Okay. 2.40. Bring that back in. Slide that to the middle, make it look clean as possible. And now we've countered that 3%, and also we've countered our brokerage paying this compensation directly, which would go against our listing agreement. So the other way to do this, and at this point, if all other terms are acceptable, you would send that accepted here and then have their buyer just initial the changes if they're accepting the changes. Otherwise, they can send back a buyer's counter offer. So let's go back. Yes, I want to save. All right, so on a counter offer, if you want to counter it here, you would come down to the verbiage and you need to be very specific with what you're saying. So buyer's brokerage compensation of 3% of purchase price is to be paid directly by seller. And you can even go as far to say not by not or no cooperation with listing brokerage, something along those lines. I would keep it short and simple. I think buyer's brokerage compensation of 3% of purchase price is to be paid directly by seller is sufficient. I think that gets the message across. I honestly like the strike through method better. I think if you don't, with the new seller's counter not being out, I like the strike through better. Um, if for some reason you're not comfortable striking through and you wanted to use this would suffice. But again, you need to be very specific with your verbiage. If you have any questions on how to do this, or why we're doing this, like just give us a call, shoot us a text, let us know.